Chilling tales of the VHS.
Bring it on.
Yes, welcome to episode 3 of our Halloween Spooktacular.
I get that. Hello.
I just come up with that a minute ago.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Really good.
Thank you. Spooktacular, yeah. So we're doing the third of our sort of horror movies in this series. So Tarby, it was your turn to pick an 80s horror film. What did you go for?
I went for 1987's Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors. So,
Part 3.
Part 3, yeah.
Why did you pick this?
I made a fucking mistake, Murph.
Oh!
Do you think it was Part 4?
5.
Oh, right, okay. So you
Isn't
thought this
that-
was a different
what's that?
film?
So I
Was
was
that
actually...
Dream Child?
Yeah. So I didn't imagine there were 2 fucking Freddy Krueger films with the...
With Dream in the title.
With Dream in the title.
It is a dream-based franchise.
Yeah, I mean,
think it's
paint,
3, isn't
paint,
it?
I think
paint
there
me
is
fucking
another one.
embarrassed because I had never seen this film.
Oh.
So what do we all know about this film? Fuck all before this.
Well, this is going to be really interesting. So,
yeah.
Al, what was your connection to this film?
Oh, I love them. I love them.
all of them.
love them.
I love it.
I love them.
You're a big Freddy fan.
I am a big Freddy fan. Dream Warriors as well. I haven't seen it for a very long time, and it was great to watch it again. Actually.
Some people say that this was the best one.
Fuck
I
me.
do. I think Freddy looks good in this one. Sounds a bit weird, but I do think it's on the cusp of just before he started to go a little bit fucking
Too farcical.
too farcical.
He's quite farcical, Freddy, mind, didn't he?
And he uses like the dream sequences real well in this one. I think it's like one of the best ones that he uses all of that sort of stuff in before it goes too fast.
Okay, but your knowledge of the film, you saw these ones as a kid, growing
Yeah,
up?
yeah, I used to love it. I think the second one was the first one I remember watching. If you watch that back now, that's quite gay undertones to it.
It's a metaphor for homosexuality.
It is.
The second one,
Yeah,
isn't
it is. Yeah.
Quite dark, the second one.
It is. But yeah, loved them. Loved them.
Lee, what was your knowledge of this film?
Well, I was obviously a big Jason fan, so I was like, fucking Freddy, fuck off. But there was a period where I was started to watch a few of
You were
them.
dabbling.
I was dabbling and experimenting with Freddy. The first one's good, the second one's good, they're both like quite dark films, and then from this one onwards, they get a bit farcical.
It's quite cool that there's a kind of paradox with that and Jason, and it's kind of like, you know, it's a bit of the Beatles and the Stones thing again. It was a Jason or Freddy thing, but then they both ended up Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah, which is great.
So whether you were on one side or another, they were both kind of as great and as shit as each other, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess so, in their own ways.
I think I always preferred Jason as a kid, but I think that's because I always actually found Freddy quite scary, to be honest, especially as a young kid. I think I'd seen the TV series more than the actual films. They used to
I don't
be-
know if I've ever fucking seen it.
Yeah, like, was it Freddy's Nightmares?
Nightmares.
Yeah, something. Yeah, so I'd seen a few of those when I was a kid, and those really freaked me out because the whole idea of Freddy's fucking freaky.
Well, the thing is,
He can get you
Freddy
in your
can
dreams,
get
so-
you in your dream, and what Jason does well is he's the fucking stocky monster stomping through a forest slowly. Is
Typical
you don't want
slasher.
to hear that in
Yeah.
a forest. You know, so they're very different things.
But it was like, to me, it was like, well, you know, Jason's never going to get me, but it's like, oh, Freddy could get me in my dreams because we all dream, so I always find it quite scary.
I think we sort of said about this when we watched Friday the 13th was that each film sort of expands on the lore of them.
Yeah,
And so
sometimes
like,
too much with Freddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some real
Even with-
liberties taken.
Even with Freddy, as you get later on into it, like there are certain bits of it that sort of like it fucking does over what the previous films
Yeah.
have done and all that sort of stuff. And it's,
Yeah.
Some loose continuity.
Yeah.
used to watch Freddy's Nightmares. It used to be on Sky 1 when Sky first came out. So it was like 89, 90, I think it was. And they
Did you have Sky, did you, growing up?
and there
Posh
was
boy in here.
and there was
92.
Is that why you like The Simpsons? Because you had it before everyone else?
yeah. Yes, there was one episode where I remember Freddy scratching with his glove on Dex, and I always thought that I'd made it up, and it never happened. And then I was watching something recently, and that clip came up, and I was like, "Fuck! It was real. It was actually real. Like, I did remember it."
And now
Like,
Lee's got to find that clip.
I know. Yes, I was literally just thinking that. Fuck.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Cool, so we all kind of were aware of Freddy. I don't think I'd ever seen this film. To be honest, I've only ever seen the first one, I think. I can't remember seeing this.
But the reason I don't know whether I'd seen this one or not is because a lot of the deaths are so iconic in this one. It's whether you've seen them on some fucking horror show or just
Yeah.
clips of, because, I mean, these are all like big hitting horror
Yeah.
deaths during this
I was
film.
going to say, yeah, a lot of the kills in this are sort of
That
the
most
most
classic,
memorable
like-
Freddy deaths, I
Yeah.
think. Well, Johnny Depp or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
like where she's getting tossed around the fucking room in the first one as well. Like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I think we've said before, though, the type of films that they are, it's very much like porn, isn't it? It's like you don't watch porn for the stories, you watch porn for the action. And that's like Freddy and Jason, and you don't watch it for the
Yeah.
stories, you just watch it for the fucking kills.
Yeah,
So
well-
they all sort of merge into one, don't they,
Yeah, I
really?
guess.
Yeah, but it's also kind of sometimes these ones how either ridiculous the plot is, or
Yeah.
there's always something you can kind of get. But anyway, so this one was directed by Chuck Russell.
Good old Chuck.
Now, does anybody else
Could
know
you
any of the
Chuck
films
wood?
that Chuck Russell went on to do?
The Blob
The Blob
and The Mask.
and The Mask. Yeah.
I like that film.
The Mask.
I like both of them.
Yeah, the Blob's pretty cool. The Mask is, in retrospect, fucking brilliant.
The Mask is fucking amazing, and even though the CGI is dated, it's dated in a way that seems like what the Mask would project.
Is his face at CGI?
What, in The Mask?
Yeah.
What?
Well, there's loads of CGI in The Mask.
He's got a big green face.
What film are you thinking of?
Oh no.
Are you on like
No,
Rocky
I'm
Dennis?
fucking
Rocky
about that.
Dennis.
You
The
think
one
the
with
one with
Cher.
Cher?
Yeah.
And fucking...
That's Ron Howard. Is that Ron? No, who is it who plays fucking...
No, it's
That's
Eric
it.
Stoltz.
Eric
Eric
Stoltz, that's
Stoltz,
him,
yeah, from Pulp Fiction.
That's right, The Mask. Yeah, I fucking love that film. Cher's great, isn't it?
Okay, so it was written, obviously, by Wes Craven, but there was a couple of other writers.
Well, his original draft went off to be fucking Freddy's New Nightmares.
It was the New Nightmares, yeah.
Oh, he's about the actors, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Making it.
So
So
they were like,
he went meta straight away. So one of the other writers they got in, one was some guy called Billy, someone who didn't go on to do fucking
The Kid.
No.
Zane.
Put a cork in it, Zane.
And then the other one was Frank Darabont. I don't know whether the T is silent. I don't know if it's Darabont or Darabont. He adapted the screenplay for Shawshank Redemption, and then he also did The Green Mile.
Oh.
And he wrote and directed both.
Two solid works there.
Then he also went on to be the showrunner for The Walking Dead. So there was, there's a lot of talent
Yeah.
behind this movie.
Behind the movie, maybe not so much in the movie.
Well, I do want to say that they claim that New Line Cinema is the
House that Freddy built.
house that Freddie built.
Yeah.
Yeah, they reckon.
It was the fourth film they released, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it fucking made them, because before that they were making films and then going to like fucking army barracks and like schools and stuff, selling them out of the boot of a car to distribute their films. They were just like very, very low.
Fucking hell.
They were just trying to make money and trying to entertain people. And I think the fourth film was Freddy, and it went fucking tits, and then that's what made the studio.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street was fucking massive, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
Freddie was on the cover of fucking everything. Like,
Rightfully so, though, the first one.
Well, no, this is actually the highest grossing one.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, actually, Freddy versus Jason.
Well, yes, apart from that.
This would be the
But Wes Craven was like, he was always dubious about whether this could be turned into a franchise.
he didn't
think
want
it
to.
could.
He didn't want to do it until he saw a second one. He was like taking it back.
Taking them all back.
It's had a 4.5 million budget and took 44 million at the box office.
Wow. Oh, I didn't go, so shall we get into it then?
Let's.
Why not? So we've got the opening credits, and interspliced with the opening credits you get a nice little quote from Edgar Allan Poe. It just says, "Sleep, those little slices of death, how I loathe them."
There's debate whether he actually ever said that. Like, he might be misquoted, apparently.
Yeah, very probably.
I thought the graphic design on the title card was fucking poor.
Yeah.
I think it was when it said Dream Warriors. Oh, it was just shit. It didn't look very good.
We'll get to this as we go on, but I mean, I'm not enamoured with a lot of this.
Oh,
Okay, so yeah,
his feelings clear.
opening scene. So we've got a girl who we later find out is called Kristen.
Patricia Arquette.
Yes, and every film she's in, she looks different.
She's 19.
I don't recognise her.
She's in True Romance, isn't she?
I've only seen that once with you.
What the fuck, man? This is a great film.
I didn't like it.
What?
What? You've been a twat there.
But I didn't know David Arquette was her brother. I was just like, it never occurred to me. And then like her other sister
It
was
is a
in,
common last name.
was in Pulp Fiction, wasn't she? The
There's like
fucking,
fucking 10 of them that are actors, aren't
the
there?
one who's
brothers and sisters?
fucking the one with all the shit in her face. That's her other sister.
Oh, is it? Is it?
yeah.
And
That's my wife.
Their dad's in one of the Scream movies, I think. Or something.
He is, yeah, and he's also in Little Nicky. He's like the bishop.
Bishop. Stagafulaizaha.
Ah, right. So yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're in Kristen's bedroom and she's using papier-mâché. And she is fashioning what we find out to be a little house. But as it sort of pans out a little bit, you get to realise that it is actually the house from
The first
one.
I guess.
So yeah, it's Nancy's house that she's obviously been plagued with in a dream. But you don't get to sort of get that far because she's eating spoonfuls of coffee chased down by Diet Coke.
But she's good old Maxwell House.
Maxwell's
you,
House.
you don't see that much anymore, do you?
Yeah, I haven't seen that for ages. Was Maxwell House?
Grim coffee.
Was it that the one where there was the two having the affair? Not having the affair, the bloke and the woman.
No,
got
that was
having a cup of
Nescafe.
coffee. Was it Nescafe?
It was like about a guy who lived upstairs.
Anthony Edward Head.
Anthony Head.
Anthony
Head.
Is it Anthony Edward Head?
No, there is a guy called
You're
Anthony
Anthony Edward Head.
Anthony Edward.
Head. Anyway, fuck it, it doesn't matter.
He was in Buffy.
That was Anthony Head.
Oh,
Fuck it,
the
Anthony
The
Head.
professor.
Such a tangent.
Kristen's mum comes in and she sort of tells her that she's still having dreams, but her mum sort of says to her, "Oh, don't worry about it, you're going to be okay." And then you hear some guy like, "Hey, where's the bourbon?"
She's trying to get some dick.
Yeah.
Well, her mum is dressed up to the nines.
But
Considering
is
it's 1 a.m.
she a lady of the night, or is she?
No,
is
wow,
she just a
it's,
bit? Is she after a bit?
I don't think she's a prostitute.
She's
no.
rich, isn't she? I got the impression she was rich.
Single and ready to mingle.
Yeah.
She's yes.
Taking advantage of her newfound freedom.
Yeah, she was. She was leaving MILF and heading for GILF, wasn't she?
Blowing the cobwebs off those panties.
Oh God.
in a non-misogynistic way, Al.
Yes.
Of course.
Kristen falls asleep, but she starts dreaming of the papier-mâché house she's built. She starts dreaming of the original house, and we hear the iconic sort of 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you.
Slow-mo kids.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that, to be fair, at the time, that was pretty fucking...
You give you the willies.
It did.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember hearing that in primary school. It was awesome as a kid, like, because if you hadn't seen the horror film, you would hear about it like a fucking myth, and someone would be like, "Yeah, my dad fucking got this video I watched with my brother the other day, and it's got this guy and he's got fucking
Chinese whispers, and especially amongst kids, it was
Do you
like,
know what I mean?
by the time you heard about it, it was
an actual myth, yes.
Yeah.
You were scared before you watched it because your mates told you how fucking scary it was. That was so fucking cool about him.
Yeah, well, I remember my dad was telling me about fucking aliens, and he was like, went to cinema, watch aliens. I was like, it's these monsters coming, they come out your stomach, like, terrified me. So that sounds really scary.
It's fucking cool because you like being scared when you're a kid.
But that also sets your parameters, doesn't it, for what you can handle as an adult? Because, you know, if you're never fucking scared, you end up jumping at everything. But I think we all had a healthy kind of dose of horror in our early life. So Kristen is wandering towards this house. She ends up following a little girl into the house, and they go down into a cellar.
This whole house thing is great. I love that house in this film. I think it's really good. But it reminds me so much, or they were so much influence for it, for Stranger Things. There's so much that they've nicked for that.
They even nicked Robert Englund.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? But that whole Vecna fucking thing and the house and everything is completely taken from this.
The Duffer Brothers said, "A Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors was a big influence on season 4.
It's good that they throw back to the first one because it kind of attaches it, doesn't it? It's like they could have gone a bit off track, but this keeps it connected, and I quite like that as well. Again, I'd never seen this, so I was quite pleasantly surprised to see there was still an attachment.
This is where it takes us.
So Freddy arrives in pretty decent style for Freddy.
Yes.
Because it turns out to be like a sort of...
Like slides on a corner or something.
He's like, yeah, he pulls up and he's like, you know. And that's the thing with Freddy. How can that be scary, but at the same time, he's scary, but...
I wouldn't say his downfall, but this is his transition from... It's where he starts saying bitch in this one.
Bitch! The prime time, bitch! I've been guarding my gate for a long time, bitch. We'll see, bitch. Bon appetit, bitch! Come. Ooh, this, bitch! Get the pet for the rubber, bitch. Let me handle this, bitch. Welcome to my world, bitch. Die, little bitch. Think you're so smart, huh, bitch?
You're bugging the prime time, bitch! It's like, he talks too much.
He does. He's like you.
I think he's still scary in this.
There was some, there's some cool stuff he does in this, yeah.
So little girl that Kristen followed down into the cellar is still with her. So anyway, Kristen tries to save her. She ends up getting stuck in the mud. She is obviously carrying a dummy, but then that's actually written into the bit, isn't it? She turns out to be carrying like a skeleton.
I clocked that as well. Quite quickly, you see her pick up the little girl, and then it's a real shit, like dummy. And then obviously it's kind of meant to be because she cuts her, it's a skeleton. But originally, when the makeup guys had made like this horrible, like decaying, like little girl, and they said it was too offensive.
They based it on like Jewish
and the Holocaust,
Holocaust prisoners, and they said it was so fucking unsettling.
So that's why they went with like just a skeleton because it was a bit farcical. That skeleton, but yeah.
Cuts back then to Kristen in her bathroom. Her mum bursts in, but Freddy's appeared in the mirror. What's he got?
Oh no, his hands. His hands.
The taps,
yeah. Oh,
it's quite a good special effect. That.
Not bad. That one.
I think a lot of the practical effects in this are all right.
From like here on in, this film and definitely the next one, all of Freddy's deaths are sort of all a little bit biomechanical, and do you know what I mean? There's like stuff growing and there's bones and like
hands.
Definitely the one I wanted to watch had a lot of that in.
Yeah.
But I quite like that. Again, I haven't seen these films for so long. I'm like the special effects when you look at them a bit like, but at the time they would have been.
Some of the special effects in this are pretty good.
But like Murph said, well, it's special effects, but like the practical effects, like the taps turning into claws.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he has a swipe at Kristen. Her mum bursts in, and basically she's holding a razor in her hand. She's bleeding. She looks like she's slit one wrist. You know, obviously, so it's the start of the sort of mental torment.
Did you know that fucking Patricia Arquette was married to Nicolas Cage for 6 years?
Yeah.
Some power couple.
She reminds me of someone, Patricia Arquette, and I don't know who I can't put my
Is it David Arquette?
What did you say? She's in Little Nicky as well, isn't she?
She is.
She's the blonde one that Adam Sandler marries.
She's not in as much as you think. So I was like, oh, fucking hell, Patricia Arquette. And then I look at her IMDb, I was like, true man.
She's pretty fit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I've never seen the real her.
That was in it.
Oh, was it? No, yeah, come
It was on the movie. I think Robert Englund or whatever. He said that everybody on set like fell in love with
Everyone
her.
was trying to back her.
All the crew, like all like the grips and that would be like
All the
she could go
actors.
and chat. Like, everybody was like, yeah, they all sort of fell in love with her. So it goes now to the psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, so the first sort of person we see is a young Morpheus.
Got Larry Fishburne in this, not even Lawrence.
Yeah, Larry.
Oh,
Larry, I
Larry.
didn't see
He's
him.
credited as Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
So you can tell he's a good actor in this. He's one of the best
gonna-
actors in
He
it.
is, his
Yeah.
part is more believable than anybody's.
He's quite clearly probably the best person in it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
even at an early age, because
Yeah.
let's be fair, he's fucking class in The Matrix, isn't
Yeah.
he? He is fucking
Not
phenomenal.
as class in Predator 3. But yeah, in Matrix, he kills it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So Kristen's been admitted to this sort of psychiatric ward or hospital or whatever it is, but she's adamant, she's like screaming, she doesn't want to be sedated because obviously being sedated means she's going to go to sleep involuntarily.
She's very much unlike the Ramones.
He gets the fucking most almighty kick in the nuts. When they're trying to sedate fucking Patricia Arquette, she kicks him straight in the fucking balls. And she's like, oh my god. And then she slashes fucking old Larry Fishburne across the arm with a scalpel. Next scene, he's just got a little plaster on it. Not even any bandages.
He's
just
nails,
like
isn't he?
the smallest plaster. In the next scene, he hasn't even got that on.
Yeah.
So he's got some
Different gravy, that is.
he's got some healing factor or something's
saying
going
he's
on.
supernatural,
Well,
he's got
potentially
some-
something's
fucking
going on. You know, a scalpel will cut you wide open.
He's Morpheus, isn't he?
Anyway, so just as all this shit's going on, who should turn up? But it's Nancy Thompson from Film 1.
He's got a stupid 80s face.
Yeah, so Nancy turns out to be like a trainee psychologist or something.
Mm-hmm.
So she rocks up through the door and she sort of mentions, she says, I've had some experience with pattern nightmares. She's talking to a guy, his name's Neil. And then he turns round and he happens to just see a spectre nun
A nun.
in the background.
The amount of fucking people walking in that corridor, there's like 200 people like crossing. It's just ridiculous. It's like I've never seen such a busy fucking thoroughfare. But literally, it's like 40 doctors and 30 nurses, and they're just crossing the camera constantly.
Nancy meets a couple of other patients in that hospital.
It's a ragtag bunch, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
A motley crew.
So you got the one young character who's disabled, haven't you? And he's got quite a sort of
He's in a wheelchair.
He's a high sort of voice. Then you've got the one black lad who's actually really fucking funny.
Kincaid.
He's like, hey man, I don't want to do this, man.
He's just-
yeah, I find him quite
He's
funny.
unnecessarily harsh to everyone.
You got like the guy who's like a mute, don't you?
Yeah, Joey.
So he had a little teardrop under his eye,
did.
and then it went. And then I don't know if it came back. It's just like, because it was in the first scene, and then I didn't see it again.
With my, extensive upbringing in gang culture, a teardrop tattoo is supposed to be for the amount of people you killed. So you have a teardrop for every murder.
What happens
Or
if
was
it
it all
goes?
lost? Like,
Exactly, I don't know about that. That's what I'm saying, is I can explain why he would have had it, but where it went, that's interesting.
Then there was a handsome guy, wasn't there?
A handsome man enters.
Was that the TV when it turned off? You were looking at your reflection.
There was Philip who made the puppets.
Yes, that's it. That was the guy.
He's the sleepwalker.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he shares with Kincaid. They both share a room, don't they?
And then you got that one sort of punk one,
Taryn, her name was.
Taryn,
Yeah,
she's
she
a
appears with
fucking
like a-
shit actress.
Yeah,
She looks like she's on the come down.
So basically what transpires in this film is that when they fall asleep they can get dream powers and it's what they really want out of life, and Taryn appears as like a mohawked punk.
She's got a load of glitter all over her tits.
I couldn't remember who she was when she wasn't that person. She was so forgettable.
Yeah.
She had switchblades and a mohawk and glittery tits.
It was like,
Glitter tits.
and the one girl who wants to be an actress, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it keeps putting fags out on herself.
Yes, yeah.
But that's to wake herself up, isn't it?
Yes, of course. We find out that all of them are being visited by Freddy.
Yeah. So Nancy goes into Kristen's room at some point, and basically Nancy sees this little papier-mâché house, which she obviously recognises as her own, so she knows that these kids are being terrorised by Freddy. Even the kids in the psych ward don't know that they're all being seen by the same guy.
We find out that they are the last children of
Yeah,
the
the
house.
kids who killed Freddy.
So, yeah.
And there was stuff on the radio as well about like sort of mass teenage suicides in
Springwood. It's all the last kid of the. So hang on, before we go any further, Freddy, pedo.
I'm Chris Hansen, and this is an investigation called Hansen versus Predator.
He wasn't.
He wasn't a
child.
pedo.
What?
He was
You
a
don't
child.
reckon?
No, he was a child murderer.
I
But
think,
it wasn't.
he
It
just
wasn't.
got enjoyment because no matter how many adults get scared or whatever, kids are always more scareable, and I think he got it.
Well, he
got
feeds off
more
the
on.
fear.
He became a pedo in the remake, which is fucking dreadful.
It's not good, is it?
It's fucking
bland.
awful.
And
It's bloody
it's
awful.
surprising actually because the guy who played fucking Rorschach, he should have fucking nailed
Yeah.
that because he's fucking really good.
I thought Freddy looked good in it, like, but
You're
it
gonna
was
stroke- you're gonna-
such a poor film.
It was boring. boring.
Yeah, it was so poor.
Yeah.
But no, that's when they introduced him as being like a.
But you
a-
do in-
a pedo as
In
well.
Freddy
but-
vs. Jason, during the flashback scene, he's got like some kid there, and he's got a fucking photo of her, and he's fucking he's like licking the photo before he puts his fucking fag out in his eyes. Is he a pedo?
No, he was. It's never. He was just a child kid.
All right,
didn't he?
you
He did-
fucking some pedo apologist. Sticking it for Freddy like.
He's led you down this, have you, Al?
I'm telling you,
He didn't do it.
he didn't. He didn't. Them.
Free Freddy! So we cut to a doctor in the lab and they're looking at a drug called Hypnosil, which is a way to basically suppress dreams. It stops you having anything, which is, in theory, a great way to get rid of Freddy.
Well, he spots
Yeah.
Nancy's got the tablets now.
Nancy drops them. Dr. Gordon picks them up and spots what they are, and then he goes back home and uses his like
80s
fucking
computer.
BBC
80s
How is it?
yeah,
What is
yeah.
there some kind of database on that? There's no
I
internet,
don't
is
know
there?
how he's doing
Yeah,
it. I mean, he's hacked into the mainframe.
Hypnosil's in Freddy vs. Jason, isn't it? They go to Western Hills and Freddy vs. Jason. They go to the same hospital.
Have they ever used weed as the thing which stops them from
I say,
dreaming?
you don't have any dreams, I suppose, when you smoke weed. do
No,
you?
that's it,
It's
you're
when
right,
you-
yeah,
It's
boom.
when you stop.
Yeah.
Well, they do
Work
smoke
out.
weed in Freddy vs. Jason, though, don't they? That fucking stoner
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Isn't
film.
there that thing on the floor?
caterpillar.
Yeah, that's fucking yeah.
There's definitely a Freddy film to be had where like the guys have to smoke weed so they don't fucking
Oh,
drink.
like Freddy's trying to fucking get them and he can't because they're all just fucking.
Yeah,
they're all just caned all the time.
Not dreaming, you know what I mean?
He's got no
And he'd be
power.
like, fuck man, we're running out of weed. We need to get some fucking weed, man. Because fucking Freddy's gonna fucking get you otherwise. Oh man, fucking if anyone's listening in Hollywood who has the power to make shit,
Get us
that
weed.
fucking movie, man. We need weed.
Well, anyway, while Kristen's drawing his house, there's a trike just comes wheeling through.
Made of chocolate.
Is that what
Is
it
that what
is?
it
I
is?
don't know. It just fucking mounts, doesn't it? They probably would have made it have like a phone pool.
I
thing
bet
or
it was like
something
probably a phone bite. It probably had wires in it so they could do it multiple
Yeah.
times, didn't it? So they could probably put it through to the
Look
ground. Something like that, I would have thought.
And it tracks in some blood.
Yes.
Yeah, that was quite cool. The 3 lines.
It was like the little saw man, wasn't it? It was like his
Yeah.
little trike.
It was.
Can't be like that.
Who's a little sawman, wasn't it?
I don't know what his name is. He's got a name, isn't he?
Jigsaw.
What, the little man?
Well, Jigsaw's the guy behind it as well. I fuck knows anyway. We're not talking about him.
Is it around this bit of the film where we see the janitor come on to what's her face?
Or an orderly or something.
The orderly, the one who's like smoking a
Right,
fag.
piece of shit.
He
He's
is,
like, "Hey, how's it going?"
he is aggressively smoking that fag. He's like got it in between his teeth while he's talking. He's like,
He's
He's the 80s rapist, though, isn't he?
He is. He's
yeah.
the seediest bloke I've ever seen. He's horrendous.
he's like,
man.
do you want to come and do some fucking crack with me, basically?
And she's like a teenager, and he's like literally like 48 or something. That is really uncomfortable. It's horrible.
But the weird thing is, it's not mentioned again.
He could have done with dying, that bloke. He could have done
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
scene
he
where
would have
he
been an easy
dies.
kill,
Do
wouldn't
you know
it?
what I mean? That would have been a nice little front cover. Oh, here you go. He's fallen asleep in his chair while he should have been working. Freddy's fucking.
Freddy's fucking wandering around out of dreams in this, and there's all kinds of mad shit
Yeah,
going on,
you're
isn't
fine.
there? It's like, he could have killed him somehow, yeah.
What we learn about Kristen is that she's got the ability to bring people in and out of her dreams.
Yes.
So this is quite a pivotal sort of point of the film. She can't really control, because the next bit is that she goes into the house that she's sort of always drawing or painting or whatever, and that's when we see sort of like the floor starts getting disturbed, like a big snake's coming under the floor.
They fucking built that snake, man.
That Freddy snake is
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's fucking
It's
so
fucking
it's
mad
so
practical
cool.
effects.
Because it was originally supposed to be pink, wasn't it? But it ended up looking
Yes.
like a dick. So they were
Yes.
like, we got
They
fucking.
they put a slime on it, didn't they?
Yeah.
When it looks at the camera, it's fucking awesome.
It's
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
and it's cool that it got fucking stabbed in the eye. It was like, ah! Fucking, it's cool when it was eating her. It was really cool. It was a cool little scene.
All those special effects in this are great.
In the same room where the snake's eating him, and like the walls of that room start to like fucking explode and shit, and like because
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's
like a
pretty cool,
snake's
isn't it?
going
Yeah.
around like the room and stuff.
Yeah.
It's real cool. Looks real good.
It's an awesome effect. And then, so she's got this power where she can pull other people into her dreams.
She calls Nancy into the dream because she had gone to Kristen's house earlier to get her clothes and stuff, and she picked up the little house that Kristen was making, and so Nancy had that in her room, and obviously she got woken up from her dream because she could hear
You're like, Nancy!
coming from the house, from the little house, and then she fell back asleep and fell into the chair and like disappeared into Kristen's dream.
That's where it gets a bit fast for me sometimes, where I don't know if that's a dream or if that's a...
Well, this is her power, isn't it? When other people are dreaming, she can bring them into her dream, which is the bit which really fucking reminded me of like Stranger Things and the Upside Down and everything. And this must have been a massive influence on those guys. Man.
So Snake Freddy gets stabbed in the eye, and then Freddy sort of turns and looks at him and says, "You you.
Oh my god.
And he's like it's on. Like, you know, they sort of recognise each other, and it's like, oh.
Like Evil Dead 2, a bit, this fucking snakehead, isn't it?
Yes.
Like at the end of Evil Dead 2. And they both come out the same year as well, which is funny.
I couldn't help but liking it to Beetlejuice. That's what I was thinking.
Beetlejuice as
And
well,
obviously
yeah.
there's another connection between the two films as well, isn't there? So in Evil Dead, when Ash is in the tool shed,
Work shed.
there's Freddy Glove.
Yeah.
But Freddy Glove went missing from this
They
film.
reckon it was the same one.
Well, they don't
Because
know.
there was somebody who was working on both films, and they were both being filmed at the same time.
Oh, right. I heard it. This was two lads who were fucking Freddy fans who heard the films, that got pissed, crept into the set, and just managed to hang around on set all day, pretending to be grips. And so they were just like hanging around, and nobody noticed, and they nicked it off a prop tray, and fucking that's where it went. And then years later, they came up being on the ones who got it.
It was me!
But the other story I've heard is that it was somebody who then took that one to use on Evil Dead.
And then put it back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Didn't they try and do, like, each other putting different stuff in the films?
There was an ongoing thing between Sam Raimi and Wes Craven that they would do
stuff
nods
like
to
that.
each other, I think. For a while, wasn't the follow-up to Freddy vs. Jason was going to be Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash?
There's a comic of it, isn't there?
There's a comic, but the rumour was that Quentin Tarantino was
fucking
connected
hell.
to it for like a real short time, that he was going to actually direct it and write it or something.
He's just come out and saying he's doing his last film now, isn't it?
He is now, yeah. Every now and again he says he's going to do something mad, like he was going to direct the next Star Trek and write it. So
I don't know how I would feel about Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash. It's a bit like...
Good.
man, that'd be class. That'd be so good. I think, because I've read the comic, and I think in it it's like Jason's like a deadite, isn't it? That's what
He
they're
is.
saying.
Freddy wants the Necronomicon so he can become all powerful, and Ash has got to stop it. And yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
The first kid to die.
What, the sleepwalking lad?
Yeah, there's a marionette.
A bad stop motion marionette.
Yeah, that's hung up in a room, and you don't like that.
The stop motion on that marionette is not good.
Oh, I thought
It's
it was
like-
all
It's
right.
cool the way his face changes into
It's
Freddy and stuff.
it's no.
Not him moving though.
No,
His like fingers come out and he's like...
And the puppet comes alive.
Yeah.
Comes over and slashes his arms open and pulls
That's
that.
fucking
that's
great,
fucking
man.
cool.
So he pulls the guy's like veins.
Basically,
It's
yeah,
like
he
tendons
slashes
or
him open
something.
and pulls...
That was pretty gruesome. That.
Yeah,
I thought that was...
it's
yeah,
pretty
that was
cool.
pretty cool.
He's a sleepwalker, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, we
So-
see that Freddy's controlling him as he walks.
Well, this is the weird thing with people are getting slashed in their dreams and they're being slashed in real life and they're bleeding. But then sometimes they're not, because this guy's wandering around with his fucking wrists and legs slit open and his mate is looking at him and he can't see it. It just to him looks like he's dreaming.
Yeah.
I think Freddy's got control over that, though, isn't he? What comes into the real world and what doesn't.
I think the rules in the Nightmare on Elm Street series are a bit too loose.
Yeah, because I always remember
Magic,
even when
don't
I
it?
was like 11, I think, watching the first one, and all that blood pissing out of the bed when Johnny Depp dies, and I was like, oh, well, that's only going to be for us. When his mum walks in, it'll be a clean room. And then when they went in, it was like that. I was like, oh, fucking hell, so he can do stuff that people can see.
Yeah.
And it was a bit like, so hang on a minute. I think that's a bit of a get out of jail free card. And
I will accept that bit, but the next bit I won't accept is him phasing through that locked door.
Yeah, that's bizarre. It's
I'm
bizarre.
not having that.
Yeah, fair. So basically, Freddy uses this kid like a puppet, walking him up these stairs to a high level outside building. And basically, Freddy appears in the sky.
That's fast.
As a puppet master. And it reminded me just of the fucking video by the Jackson 5, like, can you feel it? That's all I could imagine when I saw that. And he just appears like a hologram in the sky.
It's a
pulling
bit
these strings.
shit, that is.
And all the kids, they've woken up now and they've like smashed the windows in their room, but they've got bars on their windows, but they can still see that the sleepwalking kid is up on this ledge, and they're all trying to wake him up. But yeah, he ends up just what they think is jumping off.
Yeah.
Not the case. Misgivings are afoot. And this is what I really thought was a bit shit, is the doctor was talking about that Phil who just jumped off the building, and he was like, that was a cowardly thing to do, he's let himself down, he's let us all down. What a thing to say.
Let us grieve, mate.
Yeah, and what a thing to say to a bunch
couple
of
hours after.
emotionally unstable people.
It was the 80s though, that's how they used to deal with it. They'd slap you around a bit and then you'd be alright in the 80s. They used to have adverts on American TV, you know, if you had a teenager who was a bit of a twat or whatever, who was playing you up, you could send them to these places where they would do shit like fucking give them drugs and fucking do all this shit until they were...
Weird. So back in the hospital, Nancy's now talking to the bitch doctor, Dr. Sims, and she's trying to basically convince her not to let them give the kids drugs.
She ain't that much of a bitch. I think like she wants what's best for the kids, but she doesn't believe. I mean, to be honest, it's not very believable, is it? I think she's probably doing the right thing, is she?
You wouldn't believe it.
So you know, she has got the kids' best interest at heart.
Yeah, it's just horrible when you know what the storyline is
Yeah.
that somebody needs saving and that somebody else is like, shh, 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 it's okay. It's not fucking okay!
Yeah.
You know, so she's a bit like that, yeah, right.
There's a supernatural pedo trying to kill me in my sleep. You'd be like, yes, I'm not having it.
It's not a pedo.
It's not a pedo.
So the doctor gives in to Neil. and agrees not to give them meds. So yeah, who's the actress girl?
The blonde one. She's got a big moon face.
Yeah, she has. She's the one that burns herself, like, so it cuts her, and she's basically like sort of drifting off, and then she stabs herself.
She's got the biggest fucking remote control for a TV of all time. It's like a house brick.
It's got like one switch.
Yeah, so she falls asleep anyway, just like burning herself. Oh, good death, bad death. I don't know.
Great death.
This is good. It's
man.
fucking iconic.
Yeah,
this is an iconic.
On the wall is a wall-mounted TV. We're not talking a small TV. This is a chunky TV, and it's up on the fucking wall. And
It's Jar Jar Gabor on the TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you know, bitch?
And that's not what you think.
And she's like, fuck, what's going on here?
The talk show host is a genuine talk show
Yeah.
host. But they asked him, you can interview whoever you want. And he said, I'll interview Jar Jar Gabor. And years later he said, yeah, I want to interview because I fucking hate her. I said, I'd never have her on my show. I think she's one of the most boring people. And I got on edge because I thought it'd be funny because I'd never have her on my show.
He got it paid.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So as we said, was really. I thought, that's a bit harsh, really.
the TV on the wall facing her sprouts arms.
They're pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, it's
like
alright, 'cause I mean,
biomechanical.
So these biomechanical arms come out the side, which I suppose is better than his arms in a green and red jumper.
Yeah, no, it looks shit.
And then his head pops out of the top.
It's cool, like a membrane of like. So he's got Johnny over his head.
The only thing about it is the two aerials when they're like moving. It's like little fucking. But like the arms, they're fucking brilliant. They're fantastic, man. Like proper like real components of a TV.
Yeah. Slightly organic.
Yeah.
So she stood on the floor in front of it. These arms reach round and grab her, and he lifts her off the floor and smashes her head basically into what would be his chest. The TV screen.
He doesn't just do that, Tom.
Enlighten me, Al.
He says,
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break on TV. Up to prime time, bitch. Up to prime time, bitch.
like, straight in, like,
So,
fucking
like,
fantastic.
The line written was the first half of that. This is your big break into TV, and then he would put it through the thing. Chuck, whatever he did, filmed it from the same angle twice. And he said, "Well, I'm going to do a different angle." Did the different angle, and then I think he changed what he said. That's when he said, "Welcome to primetime, bitch." And he improvised that, and then they used both the original line and that by stitching them both together in the edit because it was from a different angle. He could use it.
It worked well, and she is then like obviously off the floor, and you think, well, she's going to collapse or drop out of the TV, but no, she isn't. That's how she gets to be suspended, and her feet are about a foot and a half off the floor, and everybody comes in. She doesn't think anything of that.
Lawrence Fishburne finds her, isn't it? You'd be a bit like, fuck this.
You've
John.
really got to admire the workmanship on putting the bracket on the wall for that TV as well.
I mean,
to hold...
TVs back then were fucking heavy.
Yeah. Definitely used some sort of like strong,
some
sort
industrial
of,
shit.
Mate, sort of shit. Yeah.
Houses were built different then, though, weren't it?
It was all built differently back then.
It was, wasn't it?
And so I come into they walk in like she's killed herself. How the fuck did she kill herself? She must have run and jumped really high
and managed to just not fall out.
she did a tuck and pike for that.
Obviously, there would be no other explanation, would there? If you saw that, you'd be like, well, she must have done that. But it is quite comical when you see her with her head shoved in the TV.
Yeah, so she's obviously dead.
She's not dead.
And then we just jump straight to the funeral.
This is why I started thinking, man, fucking acting in this is shit. It's so bad.
It's poor. It's
the
pretty poor.
dialogue is bad and the acting is bad. It's not good.
So anyway, while we're at the funeral, Neil glances over. And he can see the nun again. This time he has a little chat with her, and she says, only one thing can save the children. The unquiet spirit must be laid to rest.
Yeah.
So, wow. Just after that, then Nancy tells Neil she wants to tell him the truth.
Yes.
So then here comes the big reveal.
Is that when they're enjoying their succulent Chinese meal?
A succulent Chinese meal.
Is that it? But it's weird, their relationship, because like she's like what, like 20, and he's like got to be in his mid to late 40s.
She'd be like, yeah, I guess if she was like 16 in the first one, this is 6 years later, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and he's way too old to be, he's kind of set up some sort of like, I don't know, romantic. Yeah, so she convinces Neil that it's real. So they go back and they do this hypnotism session with all of them to try and get them into the same sort of sleep so they can all go into the dream world together.
But they don't realise what's his name has gone off on his own.
They're all asleep already, aren't they?
Yeah.
Patricia get dreams that she can do backflips.
Yes.
And forward flips. Really, not like amazingly, but like pretty good.
Like an average gymnast.
Yeah, it's like your daughter will be able to do in like 5 years' time or something.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not electric, but
So, she can do a handstand, yeah, okay.
The disabled lad can walk, that's pretty cool.
And he's a wizard.
What?
A wizard.
Yeah, he's like a D&D guy, isn't he? And then Kincaid picks up like a school chair and bends the
He's
legs.
strong.
Yes.
Strong man.
He can bend legs.
I'm strong as fuck.
But Joey's off in another room now with the nurse. Wow, how do I say this without being misogynistic?
She's got some banging tits.
She has. She turns around and she's sort of like, she's like, unzip me. Yeah.
And she's got some very high 80s pants on as well.
She has. I mean, she's very attractive.
They are
a good,
inner, those pants.
They're good look, those 80s pants.
I'm not a fan of those 80s pants.
I quite like those.
No.
Yeah, I think they're quite good.
Every time I see pants like that, I think of from
How often do you see pants on that?
And why do you
day-to-day life?
quite a lot lately.
why do
Man,
you
I'm
get
a fan. They
pained?
got to bring them back.
Yeah, why do you get pained by that?
Well, because I don't objectify women. I live my life through Freddy Krueger.
Eddie Krueger.
Well, we'll chortle over that. So the nurse strips for Joey, but it's not all peachy cream.
It is for a short time.
Very short time.
Some fantastic breasts.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, she ends up kissing him and, straddling him.
Well, before this happened, they made it so there was like Freddy's head with a big fake pair of tits.
Oh, really?
But they said it was so disturbing that they were like, nah, fuck doing that. we'll use the tongue bit instead.
I
So
can
initially, when
imagine.
they unzipped it, he turned around, it was Freddy with the fucking tits out.
That's what I was waiting
What,
to
on his
happen,
head?
man.
not like fucking little Nicky.
Blackadder like.
Because Wes Craven did that script, and then they were like, this is too fucking weird, and it became Freddy, New Nightmares, or whatever. And there was a second version of the script where I saw some of the dialogue and some of the things Freddy was saying, because they toned down that script a lot more. And Freddy's like saying, oh, I'm gonna your ass, and like, I'm gonna shit on your corpse, and like, you're a little cunt, and stuff. Those are some of the lines I can see in the script. Like, fucking hell. Imagine Freddy had like, he turned around with his tits, his bloke's tied up, and he fucking bums it or something. Do you know what I mean? He'd be like, fucking stop! We'd be way more terrified than hanging over that fucking fiery chasm, wouldn't he? Being bummed by Freddy.
That's the next step. So while the nurse is straddling him, all of a sudden, he's obviously got his tongue in his mouth, and then you just hear the classic,
What?
Classic.
Man! That is classic!
I've just got to say that I just keep thinking of Freddy's
Weird.
ass now. Looking like two of those cheese-topped rolls. Like, you know when you get two rolls
I do know what you want
with toasted cheese on them,
That's
and it
what
just like
Freddy's
look like his
buns would look
buns.
You say he's got a severely burnt ass. Like, we would, wouldn't he?
We'd have a burnt ass and a burnt dick,
We
wouldn't
would
he?
when they.
Silly old Willie in a burnt out bum.
Maybe his dick got burnt off.
Well, it probably would, wouldn't it, your dick? Because, you know.
It's an appendage.
Like a chorizo.
So anyway, while Freddy's kissing Joey suddenly finds he's tied to all four corners of the bed, and under the bed appears like a pit of hell or just lava.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the psych group again, and they're all in a room and they're being attacked by Freddy in different sort of ways. And Dr. Sims, the not so bitch nurse, bursts open the door and gives the classic Muppet Babies line from Nanny.
Is everything all right in here?
Yes, Nanny.
And that seems to belay everything. Everything stops then, but they are all just flailing all over the floor.
So, Nanny, she was just their nanny. I always used to think she was like their mum in Muppet Baby.
But that's what I thought. I thought she was like an adoptive mother.
So would they be dropping her off like a nursery for the day with her? The parents of these Muppets. This is where they go for the day, or do they live with her?
I think they live with
Yeah,
Nanny.
I think they live with her.
Yeah,
I always
I
imagine
thought
them to
so,
be some
yeah.
sort of foster kids because, like, let's face it, they're not all the fucking same species, are they? So
No, that's why I thought they were being dropped off.
A Muppet is a species, isn't it?
Fozzie's a bear. Again,
But
Ralph's a
they're
dog.
but
How do they procreate?
Muppet on Muppet, I think is. It doesn't matter if you're a pig Muppet or a bear Muppet. You're still a Muppet.
You're a Muppet.
A Muppet of a man.
A Muppet of a man.
I fucking loved Fozzie Bear. Wacka wacka!
You didn't know about Fuzzy Wuzzy was about, did you?
Did you only see her legs?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was like the lady out of Tom and Jerry. wasn't she?
Thomas!
Yeah, just a pair of stockings.
A claw from Inspector
It
Gadget.
used to blow my mind as a kid that there was a clip from Ghostbusters
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
intro. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I was just thinking, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Was that?
They always had clips and films in it, didn't they? There was like
of
Star
course,
Wars
yeah.
clips in it.
Yes,
and
yeah,
stuff as
real
well.
backgrounds and
How the
stuff,
fuck
didn't
did
they?
they get away with that?
Well, it's probably a massive thing, wasn't it? Muppets are like Sesame Street and stuff
I
like
don't
that.
know, or maybe it was to
Columbia
do with
was
Jim Henson would have worked on Labyrinth with George Lucas, maybe for the Star Wars
Didn't
stuff.
work on Ghostbusters.
No. Well, I mean, the thing is, they did like fucking special effects and stuff. I'm sure they were like, go on, you can buy this bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the therapy room, all the kids are out cold after being attacked by Freddy, but also so is Neil. And Nancy's in there. So as a result of this, they're both basically not fired. But
She was
they're
like, yo, you
suspended.
get out of here. And then they're still there, like, later on in the film.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought I told you to leave.
Yeah.
And they're just letting you hang around here.
Nancy's only been there for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And she's already been suspended.
And she's still wandering about there. So just go.
It's not for her, is it?
So all of that's going on. The nun makes another appearance. Neil then starts to follow her.
Do you want to know a fun fact about the nun?
I would fucking love to.
Her name is Nan.
Yes, I saw that.
Nan.
Nan Martin.
Oh, Oh, the actress is called Nan.
Yeah.
Martin.
I made the connection because Father Ted and Father Jack sobers up and he's like, Nan! And he says it to a nun.
I've never seen Father Ted.
Get the fuck
Shut
out of
up.
here.
I think I've seen like one episode.
It still stands up, I reckon.
It's amazing. So Neil follows the nun and they end up in this room and he's like, sort of says to her, he's like, well, this facility was shut down 40 years ago. And then the nun explains that a girl on the staff whose name was Amanda Kruger, she got locked in.
Over the holidays. What, do they just leave him to it for
Yeah,
a week?
she must have been in the
Yeah, what
toilet.
the fuck is that?
Yeah, and everybody
How
went.
did they survive?
Left the nutters in there. Yeah, she was unfortunately raped many, many times.
Hundreds of times.
And gave birth to what they called the bastard son of 100 maniacs.
Yeah.
Don't they show that scene? Because
Yeah.
Robert Englund's in it as himself, and there's like all of the patients are running around in like this one room.
It might be one of the later Freddy films.
Is it the first time you hear that origin, I think? Isn't
Yeah.
it? Oh,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
first
yeah.
time you hear that
It's
origin.
quite a good expansion on the mythology, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's kind of bollocks because
No.
one maniac,
It's one of
wasn't
them, but it's interesting.
But the other thing as well is it's a bit like when she's saying this, it's like, ooh, I wonder who the mother could be. It was like fucking obvious from the moment she started saying that, well, it's you.
I didn't get that.
Did you not?
Nah, but again, watching it fresh eyes, it was kind of like I was so engrossed in trying to watch the plot line that I completely missed the sort of.
Yeah, I thought it was like, well, it's going to be her, isn't it?
I was looking at the wrong bits at the wrong time, but anyway. So Neil is talking to this nun, and she ends by saying, "You've got to find the remains, and you've got to bury them in hallowed ground." Anyway, Joey is now in a coma, and Freddy makes an appearance again, not in a physical form, but she sort of says, "Let go of him, you bastard!"
He slices his nipple first. What the fuck me?
Yeah. He slices his lad up to. Well, he's using him as a notepad. Come and get him, bitch.
He knows who a bitch, doesn't he?
He does from this film onwards. He does.
We'll see, bitch.
Run, but you can't hide, bitch.
So Neil and Nancy are then talking about Freddy's remains, how to find them, what to do with them and everything, and they've obviously gone in search now of Nancy's dad, who we find in a typical smoky back room of a pool club. Or
He's
something
got a
like
big
that.
square 80 head, hasn't
It's
he?
Little Nemo's bar.
It is.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it says on the side of the
Little
wall.
Nemo's.
He's got a great face, he has.
He's in Enter the Dragon, isn't he?
I've seen him fight Chuck Norris in Way of the Dragon.
That's what I meant.
Is it?
Yeah.
He's in Dusk Till Dawn as well. He's on the TV talking about the escape of the Gecko Brothers, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
So Neil and Nancy have obviously been talking about this. They found her dad. He's still wearing his cop's uniform, so I'm guessing he's still a policeman. But he's hanging out in the back
Security.
of a... Oh, is he?
Well, no, I don't know if it's like security is like part of their motto or something. He has got a star on
Yeah,
the front.
not just
So
a
I think-
badge. It looks like a star.
He's not
He
a
does.
mall cop. You're saying he's an actual.
Yeah, he's...
Because was he like fucking chief of police or something in the first one? I can't fucking
Yeah, he
remember.
was. He was definitely a policeman, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's like the mayor of Amityville. He's been broken by the fact that he was the bloke in the first one saying, "Oh, everything's fucking fine," and all that shit happened. And I think he's kind of a bit like, "Well, this was my fault."
Yeah.
So you know, he's a broken man, and that's why he sat sort of sipping shots in a smoky back room of a bar. So Nancy walks on up. She's like, "Hi, Dad." They have a little bit of a chat. And Nancy and the dad don't really sort of get anywhere. But then Neil steps up and he sort of like goes and has a quiet word.
He's tough, isn't he?
He is. Slams him
He
against the
really
wall.
strides across that fucking bar, doesn't he? So
does.
This is the
With
thing where I'm not
purpose.
really sure if he's kind of like in love with Nancy or just like
In love with
really,
her dad.
really.
No, from this point on, he's very forthright with him, and his dad like doesn't want to go, but he just does. And it's like
I
he
thought
could
that was
just
gonna
walk away
lead
at any
something
point,
bigger.
couldn't he? Really, I thought he needed him at gunpoint or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So while all this is going on, Kristen's being sedated again and put in a quiet room, and this is what we don't want to happen. None of the kids want to be sedated, and especially not her, because obviously she's got the power to bring people in and out. So Nancy goes to the hospital to see Kristen, but old Morpheus won't let her in.
But he's like, no, you can't see her. Can I go see her? Yeah, feel free. Just don't fucking just wander around like in this psychiatric hospital.
It's a loophole, isn't it? She's like, "Can I go see one of the other guys?" Oh, okay. Bollocks. So Neil has now talked some sense into the dad. He's told him that we need to bury the bones, and where have you put the fucking bones?
Do you like to bury the bone?
I can't remember the last time that happened.
Where
but
have you put the bone?
I'm not getting into this.
It's been 84 years.
This is bollocks because it turns out that they buried the bones in the boot of a car
In this
a
abandoned junkyard.
It must be massive. It must be like a fucking labyrinth in there because he says we've got to go to the heart of the junkyard.
He had the fucking key to the padlock. Does he own it, this place? What's going on?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? He did have a key to get
Possibly.
I feel like you would have buried this body.
This is why I'm saying this is so fucking farcical because first of all, they've got to drive into this junkyard and it's a trip so far into the junkyard that they stay in the car. You can't walk it and they eventually arrive in the heart of the junkyard and the bones, are wrapped in a blanket in the boot of an old fucking Cadillac or something.
in. It wasn't easy to get into though, was it?
But still, why would you... That land's going to be bought or developed or those cars sold on for scrap to somebody else.
If he's got the key, maybe he's...
Oh, I'm not having it. I'm not buying this.
He's like gatekeeping the place.
Maybe, yeah, I suppose, but it's just, it doesn't strike me as that deeper film. Do you know what I mean? You know, he's in a bar getting fucked in his
he's depressed
in his cop's uniform. Yeah, so is he really that bothered about keeping a fucking jug? There's going to be kids getting in there and transients and all sorts.
Maybe that's what's depressing him. Maybe he can't live with it.
Doesn't know what to do with the land.
The market value isn't great at the moment.
The debt is crippling him. He only earns a sheriff's wage.
Anyway, Nancy talks to the rest of the group and they decide to come up with this plan that we're back to going in and getting Freddie and taking control of the situation.
She is doing like a little hypnosis session. So they all fall asleep. They end up in the Elm Street house and they're all separated.
Patricia Arquette.
Yes, wakes up and it's
like
the
a
first
flashback.
part.
That was quite nice, I thought. I don't want it back to, oh, it was all a dream.
Yeah.
I thought this was all really soft.
It was quite good when he'd cut her mum's head off and the mum's talking. That was quite a good effect.
That's quite a good special effect.
I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, that was
good.
funny. That made me laugh at him when he's like, "Where's the fucking bourbon?"
I said, where's the fucking bourbon?
And he was in a tux.
He was in a tux.
Yeah.
That's it. And they would have been like, "What should we do?" He's going to burst on the corner. Put a fucking tuxedo on him. That's fucking. That's well fun. Just for that one tiny little bit of a scene.
But this is how it can't be serious, is because it's too, like, you know, you can imagine Jason
It gets
coming
more
around the corner in a
farcical
fucking...
as the film goes on. This one. This is like fucking Friday the 13th Part 6 onwards, isn't it? It's like it's fast.
It does have some of the best sort of like
There's
kills.
there's some iconic kills,
Yeah,
but it is a farcical film.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
who we talked about earlier, Taryn, who becomes the punk when she dreams, and that's her power. This is what we see next, is her in an alley.
She's swinging her glittery tits about.
Oh man, she's like
This
the
alley is terrible.
shittiest fucking...
The alley is terrible, her acting is terrible.
Oh, I love the alleyway. It looks great. It looks like a set. It looks just like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
exactly
exactly
what it
what
is.
it is.
I know, but it's like it's
I-
got that dream-like thing to it, isn't it? It's
Oh,
very
I'm with
sort
you
of
on that
like
now, definitely.
I don't know.
I feel like
I
worse.
think it looks pretty cool.
Well, now you say that, I thought it was just really poor budget, but maybe
Yeah,
it
I mean,
is.
it probably
But
was.
the thing
It
was,
probably
when
was.
The punk that she plays is like the worst, most lame dick sort of fucking badass punk you can imagine. She's
like,
awful.
I got 2 flick knives.
Yeah, and they are literally like sort of 3-inch knives. They're not really threatening. It's like if they even were on hinges that came out of her wrist, out of her pocket, you know, those sort of like
tiny.
Japanese things or something, that would be like, ooh, fucking
She
hell.
does a bit of damage with them, though.
Yeah,
She does.
They are,
She stabs him in the armpit.
Okay, asshole, let's dance.
Okay, asshole. Let's dance.
She's just fucking lame, man.
You would.
Yeah, she's quite
Terrible actress.
So she's a recovering drug addict, so she's obviously got needle injection marks on her arm, and Freddie then turns his fingers into kind of like hypodermic needles, and he places one in every hole.
But all the holes are like...
Yeah.
They're trying to suck along the needle.
It's fucking
horrible.
brilliant.
That
It's
was
brilliant.
horrible.
Because that's a great fucking image.
I'm pretty sure that there's a hardcore tune.
What a rush.
Yeah.
Actually, because I thought that when I watched it, but it's not that. It's a sample from The Mask. When the baddie in The Mask puts the mask on, he says, "What a rush" as well.
Okay.
Interestingly, both Chuck Russell films.
Oh, wow. There we go. That is interesting.
Yeah, that's me educated a little bit as well. Then
He
follow
ODs her, doesn't he, with
his
this?
hypodermic needle fingers, killer.
Her head blew up originally.
Well, you could see the side of her head. couldn't
The
you?
effect wasn't very good, though, was it?
Yeah, so they cut it.
So, does anybody know the name of the lad in the wheelchair? But we go to his story next, and basically he's in a tunnel, but a wheelchair appears.
It's the biggest wheelchair I've ever seen.
Fucking what is going on with that?
It's
like one of
enormous.
those deck chairs at Butlins that people sit in and our photo is taken on. It's like, first of all, so that it looks like a sort of medieval torture device.
It's like
a
the cleaners
wheelchair.
from Labyrinth. Just like,
Yeah, it's covered in spikes. It's not going to be a comfy sit if you get into that wheelchair. And you think, oh, it's all right, you'll be able to dodge that. But as it goes by him, it's like the size of a fucking monster truck.
Yeah.
When Freddie gets it, he's actually about 2 foot shorter than the top of the chair.
He's got like the chariot things on the wheels, and
That's how he gets him, isn't it? He runs past it and he
yeah.
sort of slices his shins as he goes by. But Will, again, his other dream power is that he's a wizard.
This is fucking fast. This film gets more and more farcical as it goes on.
He looks like a cross between Doctor Strange and Paul Daniels.
He looked like Grandpa Munster.
He did a bit. The vampire fucking TV guy from Gremlins 2.
Yeah. And then worse than that, this fucking magical powers animation is dire.
It's terrible.
It's so poor.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's bad.
Yeah, so basically he becomes a wizard and he sort of takes on Freddie. So Freddie turns around and says to him, "Sorry kid, don't believe in fairy tales," and then stabs him.
Just stabs him.
Just stabs him.
He's like,
Just stabs
there's
him.
no elaborate death for
No,
this
he
guy.
just
He
stabs
could
him.
not be fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, your costume's poor, your magic is fucking weak, I ain't even wasted time on you. You're not even getting a bitch.
No,
You don't even get a suckling hole on your forearm.
yeah.
Would you want Freddie injecting you in your suckling hole, would you?
No.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
Not with his fucking chorizo dick.
He'd be like a twiglet. Or a knick-knack.
Knick-knack this bitch.
Or it'd be like a fucking curly-wurly.
Fucking hell. It always ends up on dicks, doesn't it?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Dicks.
Okay, so Kincaid, Nancy, and Kristen are left. They all meet up. Remember, we're all dreaming now, and they go down this spiral staircase.
It's like this fucking great big door appears. It's like, it's a door.
It's a door.
It's like,
Yeah, no shit.
Figure it out. But it goes nowhere. Yeah, because Kincaid comes.
He bursts through the wall.
He's like, what's that? What's that? And then he just like fucking smashes through the wall.
He's like, hey man!
What the fuck has he been up to? Just bending stuff and fucking chucking stuff around.
Before they go into the dream world, he says, "Let's kick this motherfucker's ass all over Dreamland." So fucking hell, he's hard.
He was.
Because he was shouting out fucking Freddy as well. He was like, "Where are you, pussy? You pussy!"
As soon as that door would have turned up, I'd have been like, nah, fuck it.
I went ghost hunting once in Shrewsbury, to Shrewsbury Prison, and it was a load of farce. We ended up leaving early to go to McDonald's because of his shit. This was years ago.
You were scared.
I'm hungry, let's go.
No, it's terrible because in the end they wanted to do table tipping and all this like parlour game shit. Like, but anyway,
Fucking lizard nonsense.
But anyway, so there was a guy there, and we ended up doing a Ouija board in this cell, right, with a guy and his missus. And this guy spent the entire time on this Ouija board calling out the ghosts, like, "Where are you? I don't believe you're real. Come on, show yourself!" And like the three of us were stood there like, "What the fuck is this bloke doing?" And he was like, "You're bloody shit, you are!" Like it was fucking mad. Later on as well, we were in this fucking cell block, and all of the people were in there. They were like doing like some sort of like, "Is anyone here? Is anyone here?" And one of the ghost guys who was like part of the people who organised it walked over to me and Yaz, and he was like stood next to me, and he was like, "Is that something moving up on the top of the stairs?" And I was like, "No." And he walks off to the next group of people and he was like, "Is that something moving?" I'm just like, this is fucking farce, man. This is farce. Like.
Where's it going? You alright? Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.
But yeah, spooky shit.
How was your Mackies?
Yeah, it was alright actually.
Anyway, cuts back again to Nancy's dad and Neil. After their long drive to the heart of the junkyard, they finally find the car. Again, I can't make my peace with that, hiding Freddy's bones in the back.
That's the bit you don't like.
But it's a cool set, that.
They use it for the next film, don't they?
Because at one point he's like, "Oh, I'm going," or whatever, and he's like, "No, you're not, you're staying." He's like, "Oh, all right."
He doesn't threaten him.
He's got his fucking car keys.
He's a really lacklustre bit. Yeah, he's like going somewhere and he's got the keys with him. And
He was going to drive off and leave him there.
You'd be like, "Listen, buddy, I'm a fucking police officer."
Yeah, I'm chief of police.
Yeah, you just run off. It's not like it's a main road, a main straight road. He can just run off in amongst the cars and get away if he really
I still
wants
reckon
to.
he's a security guard, you know.
Hey, what if he's a security guard working at that fucking...
The police station.
No, that fucking...
there.
That makes sense, doesn't working
it?
at the scrapyard.
That's what he's doing.
But why would you, when you've got money to burn, if you're hiring that man to look after the fucking scrapyard, it's like someone's going to come and steal my
It would
scrap.
make sense if he was always the scrapyard security guy, and that's why the bones were in there.
No,
but we was a cop.
Maybe the town hired him.
Maybe it's his scrapyard. He's hidden Freddy in there, and he acts as security to protect, to stop anybody from getting in and getting Freddy.
Yeah, where were the bones when he was a copper in the first one? Because they'd already killed him then.
They've always been there. All through the first one, the second one.
Well, thank fuck nobody's ever wanted a fucking boot of a Cadillac or a bumper or something.
But it would have been better if, like, he went to, like, fucking kill the other bloke or something. I don't know. It would have been better if there was something more. Because Neil just says, "No, you're staying," and he just does, and I just didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been working through something though, couldn't he? He could have been like, "Oh, fucking hell, I've got to do this really. I don't want to," but
maybe that didn't come across.
He was down on his luck when he was drinking, and he said he hadn't seen his daughter for ages, and his wife had died.
Yeah.
well, Freddie killed her, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, we don't
standards
know, I
like.
don't know.
But yeah, I think so.
Did she get dragged through that window? Like,
Yeah.
did that really happen? I have no idea. So we're back to all the kids in the boiler room now. You know, they're not in the bedroom anymore. This basically is like a hell pit. Joey is now actually tied over a flaming pit.
Still with these tongues.
Yeah, and yeah, somebody shouts, "Let him go!" And Freddy's like, "If you insist." And then the tongues start to undo, and he's gradually falling bit by bit. And Nancy was sort of hanging over this horribly CGI'd
Pit.
Yeah, she'd ran down like a big pipe and she to go and get him.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing to say to someone if they're like suspended above it.
Let him go!
Yeah, you just wouldn't, would you?
And then what's her face? Patricia Arquette. She comes running in and does like a fucking massive backflip.
She did loads of flips.
She did a load of flips and kicks Freddy in the face.
But then Freddy like backhands her like 20 times. For the rest of the film, he's just backhanding her around the set. And then Kincaid's got some fucking polystyrene pipes that he's like...
Whole fight scene is bollocks.
It's just Freddy fucking pimp slapping, isn't he?
He's just slapping her about.
Yeah, but then somebody manages to stab Freddy with a pole. Yeah, he basically pulls it out and he licks it.
What's his game? He deviant.
Yeah, that's better than pedo. Deviant is what he is.
Well, I mean, if he's enough of a deviant to want to lick the blood from his intestines, he was definitely going to be a pedo. He's
I
just.
Do you think that goes hand in hand?
Well, I think he's
disagree.
just willing to sink to as low a depth as he can to get a thrill.
Yeah.
He certainly kills more kids than adults, doesn't he? And also he opens his shirt and there's basically
got their
it's a lot
swords.
like Quaid on fucking Total Recall or something.
It's
you know,
fucking
there's-
cool.
Yeah, because Nancy was like, "Oh, he's stronger than before," and he was like, "Oh, I'm feeding off the souls
look at my
of the children."
souls.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, all that shit's going down. Neil and Nancy's dad back in the junkyard again, and they've got the bones, and they're starting to dig. Then all the cars come to life and start to
Well,
crash
first
down
of all,
around them.
though, Freddy is in the dream world. He's like, huh? He realises that someone's fucking about with his corpse, and then he vanishes, doesn't he?
Well, this is where it goes fucking mad.
It is because he could have done this before.
Yeah, why doesn't he just do this? Because he travels back into the real world and he manipulates his skeleton into coming alive.
Yeah, it's like fucking Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah.
It's-
Although worse.
It is
It's
a
not
bit
good.
shit.
It's like Army
It's
of
like
Darkness.
Army Doctor, this is fucking better than
Yeah,
this.
it is a bit shit, but I watched this bit like 3 times because I do quite like stop motion animation, and you see how they do it because obviously it's projected. They've got the model there, and they've got frame by frame projection behind them, isn't it? If you look at it, that's how they're doing it. But it was shit, but it had a bit of charm, I thought.
It had a little bit of charm, but I mean,
It didn't
if
suit
you
the film.
if
There
that's
was
it, if you
parts
look at
of it
like
that
Evil Dead 2 when they do the stop motion with his girlfriend, that's scary because the film is of such low quality. Because it's such a low budget Evil Dead 2, isn't it? Because the quality seemed higher, it made it like just a bit shit.
If you watch that scene now of Jason fighting the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts,
Yeah.
that is insane. The amount of like,
Amount of detail
the
and
amount of
shit
shit that
going
they
on.
had to go, and that was what, like maybe 20 years. I don't know, actually 10, 20 years.
It
maybe?
wasn't that
late
long.
60s.
No, it would have
But it would have been at the time when we could never put ourselves in that place. It would have been like absolute pioneering.
You
kind
see,
of-
if you saw that, you'd be like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
it's real."
I don't know. I think you would have been.
There was a good
No,
documentary
you
about
think
that.
about, they used to play an Amstrad computer game and think of the graphics with the fucking like a cartoon. Look at this.
Relative.
Freddy Skeleton is on the rampage and he kills Nancy's dad.
It pales him on a spike.
That's right, yeah, he throws him up against the cars. And then he proceeds to beat Neil with a shovel.
Yeah, this is really weird. Pushes him in the hole, chucks some soil in him,
Yeah.
celebrates, and just drops into
And
the
then
fucking
goes, then
It's
goes
like,
back.
well, why didn't you kill him?
I think he thought he killed him or something. I don't know.
The
This is
celebration's on.
like Evil Dead 3 as well, isn't it?
What's that you got on your face?
He's like, "Yeah!" and he disappears. It's like, when he chucks a bit, he doesn't even properly bury him. It's like, well, he's completely bury him, or tip a car on him, or
Well, I mean, I guess he had to get back and
well, he's busy. He's busy. Man.
he's got stuff going on, and he.
Yeah.
So the kids are trapped in like a corridor in our house with loads of paintings and mirrors around.
Yeah.
What is that house?
It's just somewhere.
It's just
It
a
is,
hallway.
it is. And basically Freddy starts appearing in these paintings and mirrors. It's a good effect. I
It's
thought
all
this
right.
looked shit.
It's all right.
I thought this is shit, but basically he starts coming 3D out of the mirrors and dragging these people.
alright.
And he's dragging them back through, and I mean, I thought he was a bit cheap and shit.
It was alright.
But, you know.
It was all the time, I think.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like the pinnacle of Freddy launching his major attack. But it turns out that Joey, who has been mute throughout this entire film, even when he's been over a scorching hot hell pit, suddenly finds his voice and just screams like, "No!" which is enough to trigger all the mirrors breaking, and well, basically his found voice is kind of Freddy's weakness.
That's like his superpower, isn't it? He's mega loud.
Yeah, because he's been so quiet, he's like, all of a sudden he's just got all this.
I get it, but I don't think it. They
Yeah,
haven't built up
it's
to
a
that.
cheap
They
get
haven't
out.
earned that. I don't think.
Oh god, Nancy's dad reappears.
Oh man, this is so bad.
It's,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's terrible.
this is like what you do if you didn't have a green screen. It was like a black blob that moved across the screen with a couple of sparkles
It
on
was
the edge.
not. It was not good. I mean, it was embarrassing to watch when you realise that it's actually Freddy. You forgive it a little bit,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
still.
But it
is
could have
shit.
been.
I didn't see the Freddy reveal coming. I was like, oh, so I think. I was
Even
so,
the dialogue though of that scene was fucking
It was
dreadful.
poor,
I know it was
yeah.
probably supposed to be like that, but it was awful.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought if it was going to be her dad coming back to give her some advice or help her or something, I was like, oh, maybe, but it was just so poor. Considering it turned out to be that it is Freddy in disguise again, he could have just manifested so many better ways.
And Freddy just gets his fucking hand and he just
In the
stabs
belly.
it straight in the stomach, doesn't he? Yeah. This is the weird bit, isn't it? It's basically how they defeat Freddy now.
So as this fight is going on, Neil he's managed to sort of like bring himself round and he pushes all the bones into a grave. He gets a cross that he's got
Oh, and the holy water,
and puts it on top of that, and then he burns the whole thing. And
He's
kind
put holy water.
Yeah, he
in,
just
doesn't
Yeah,
sprinkles
totally
holy
water.
water.
he
on
don't
it.
fucking burn it.
Yeah, it's
He
holy
puts
water
holy
that you
water
got
on it.
earlier, isn't it?
Freddy's got a little light bursting out of him when it's going on, but
he's doing that fucking stupid, like he's spinning around, which is like he looks like a fucking disco
he
ball.
does.
There's like a load of holes in him, and he's like light shining out, and he's just running around in a circle.
I'm not convinced that digging a hole in the junkyard and tipping holy water in it qualifies as consecrated ground.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is.
I would say it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't necessarily trap Freddy forever, does it?
I guess you're right, but they didn't know that at the time.
No.
Spoilers.
Anyway, consecrated ground or not, Freddy's bones are in the ground. He's covered it in holy water and whatnot. I thought it was burning, but obviously not, and that finishes him.
They grab his hand, stick it in his stomach, don't
Yeah, it's a finishing touch, but I don't think that wouldn't have done shit if he wasn't laid to rest in consecrated junkyard ground.
Yeah.
So then we move to the funeral of Nancy's dad, where Neil sees the nun.
He's really rude, just walks off in the middle of the funeral. It's like, mate, I'm fucking...
That happens a lot. I
We're
think
burying this guy here.
There's a lot of shit that goes on at American funerals in films, and it's all very easily forgiven. So this time he wanders off to see the nun, and the reveal at the end is that the nun is herself Amanda Kruger.
I like that.
Yeah, it was alright.
Like, it's pretty
good.
cool. So what's the deal with that then? So she's Ghost
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think for
She's a holy ghost.
Did she die before Freddy? And if she didn't, was she a ghost before that?
There's something sort of demonic and supernatural going on with Freddy, isn't there? That's why.
Well, he's got a fucking he's a product of a fucking 100 nutters.
Well, I think there's something more going on than that. That's what happened, but that would have been like
But
a
no, but
ritual.
the whole
made
like
him a
evilness
demon.
of the nature of what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
It would be
yeah.
a pretty negative kind of life, wouldn't
He's
it?
saved by dream demons, isn't he, in the later films?
You know what you want. I want it all!
Yeah, and they sort of save him whilst he's about to die, isn't it? They take the worst human on earth or something, like when they're about to die.
The biggest piece of shit.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to have been a pedo then, hasn't he?
Well, I don't think he is.
I think he might be.
Yeah.
Read his autobiography.
He's not a pedo.
So yeah, that is the end of the film.
Well, there is a little bit in there. Patricia's in bed, and then it pans out, and you can see the little house she built, and then the light comes on.
Interesting fact, but this is the first film where he's predominantly called Freddy.
Is it?
In the other films, he's called Fred Krueger.
Oh, is that right?
In most of the times, he is called Freddy in the other films, but mainly he's called Fred Krueger.
Even Nancy calls him Fred in the first one, didn't she?
I think how he comes back to life at the beginning of the next film, his dog is in the graveyard, and he does a piss, and instead of piss, a load of flames come out onto the floor, and that's what resurrects Freddy.
This is fire.
At the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
That's how he's resurrected.
But
at the
is the
beginning
dog
of the
like
film.
really the devil or something then? Or
I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched.
He's a
all of
little
them, to be
rascal,
honest.
is what he
well,
is.
maybe we'll get to watch that at some point in the future. So, what about scores then?
So, as a Halloween film, I have watched this today for the first time in my life, and so I've got very fresh feelings about it, and I'm unsurprisingly going against the majority. This is not a very good film for me, even as a Halloween film. Again, let's use the analogy that you're in a pub with the music up and the TV down. Just a picture, ain't fucking scary at all, really. I would be surprised if Freddy appears on here for more than 5 minutes out of the whole film. So, you know, you've got to look hard to see him. So as a Halloween film, yeah, it's a 5. And I think that's generous. As a standalone film, again, don't get me wrong, Freddy films and Jason films, for me, they're just great films that I like certain ones of. I am a horror fan, but I'm not a particular Jason or Freddy fan.
What's your favourite horror film?
Classic ones, you've got to go with some of the Poltergeist, but I mean, currently, I really enjoy the Conjuring films.
You sound sceptical.
The Warrens are frauds, man.
Maybe. Anyway, I've got no sort of loyalty to these films other than the fact that I happen to like a few of each of them. But the effects weren't great. I didn't appreciate the effects as much as you guys did. Things like when he was controlling the sleepwalking kid and he was like that hologram in the sky, that was just fucking ridiculous. A lot of cheap get-outs. I don't understand why it is noticeably gone softer. I can't remember if I've seen the second one, but from the first one, brilliant film. This one, it really is going down the Evil Dead franchise. It's kind of getting more farcical as it goes on.
Evil Dead 1, no. Evil Dead 2, a bit. Evil Dead 3 is just slapstick. It's more a comedy than a horror, the third Evil Dead, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
But
kind of where
this
I
is
felt this was going. Watching this for the very first time and not knowing what it was about, you know, and admittedly, I made a fucking mistake. I wanted to watch Dream Child, not Dream Warriors. But, you know, it was good to see it. But at the same time, I was just like, well, yeah, even back in the day, I wouldn't have been impressed by this. Sorry, what is this, a 4?
A 4?
Fucking it.
Holy smokes.
Nice,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's pretty harsh. I think for a Halloween film, I think any Nightmare on Elm Street is going to be a pretty fucking good Halloween film. It's got that 80s sort of slasher horror feel, which is what I always kind of think of when I think of Halloween. So I think as a Halloween film, it would be good. I think there's better options out there, so I'll probably give it a 7 for a Halloween film.
Fucking hell.
I think it'd be,
That is generous.
Be alright. As a film in itself, I did enjoy a lot of it. I did enjoy all the practical effects, just because it's great to see practical effects. I do think they're done pretty well in this.
I think that's where most of the budget went.
Yeah, definitely. And no, I think the acting is poor, apart from Lawrence Fishburne, who's quite good. Patricia Arquette's alright, I guess. Most of the others are fucking shit in it. But there's a few inventive deaths, and I think some of the deaths are quite cool. So I think as an actual film, I think I'll give it a 6.
Yeah. For a Halloween film, I agree with both of you. I think obviously Freddy is pretty iconic. I think a lot of the deaths in this film are iconic 80s deaths, which is why I wasn't 100% sure that I'd seen it, or whether I've just seen bits of it on like horror shows or whatever. But also, like you say, Top, if you strip Freddy out of it, it wouldn't be a very long film. So if it was on a TV in a fucking pub, there wouldn't be that much to see. But as a Halloween film, I give it a 6.5. As a film, I think this is what kind of spoils the Freddy franchise for me, because it gets quite farcical. You can see it amping up and fast during the film, and it stays at that level for the rest of the films.
Yeah.
And there are some inventive bits in it, you know, like the TV stuff and stuff like that, which is quite cool. But yeah, it does lower the quality, whereas the first one and the second one were quite dark, or they seemed quite dark at the time. So I am going to give it 6.
Yeah, for a Halloween film, pretty much agree with all of that. It's like, if you were to have it on with no sound on, would it be that entertaining? I'm going to say a 6 for a Halloween film. And for a film, I mean, I love the films. Special effects are great. Freddy's great. It is the last film before it does start to go a little bit fucking silly. But as a film, I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Ooh,
because I think the acting is fucking terrible, man. But it is what it is, isn't it? A Freddy film is just what it is. It's just the kills are just there to entertain you. I mean, you couldn't have a Freddy film that was like a fucking... didn't involve it. It would just be...
Didn't involve killing people.
Yeah, it's just
Freddy
fast.
just going about doing whatever he does when he ain't doing that.
You're watching Freddy for the kills, aren't you? So yeah, it's 7.5, I think.
Wow.
Interesting. So yeah. One for you to decide it out. I mean, obviously, I think if you're watching 80s horror films, then you're gonna be watching some Nightmare on Elm Street at some point, aren't you? So go out, have a look, see what you think. Let us know in the comments. So that leaves us with the last one.
One more to go, yeah. One more.
So the last Halloween film is for me to pick. There's so fucking many you could do. I could have gone with a lot of different things, but I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go for a real fucking banger. And it's the one film we've been requested more than any other as well. So I thought, fuck it, let's do it. So yeah, Lost Boys.
Motherfucker, I'm trying to watch The Lost Boys, you know?
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice, yeah.
Let's just do a
Can't
big
wait.
one. Cool. All right then. So nice one. So we'll see you next week for Lost Boys.
Bye.
No!